Today is Saturday, April 18th. The war in Iran sent oil and gas prices surging, impacting the cost of just about everything else, from groceries to flights to everyday goods. And even as the situation continues to evolve, especially over the last 24 hours, there's still a lot of uncertainty about what could happen next. So what's actually driving the price hikes? And how can you save where it counts? Today, you'll hear from two guests. First, we're joined by Patrick Haan from GasBuddy, which is the largest U.S. fuel price tracking service in existence. And Haan himself has been tracking fuel markets for nearly 2 decades. He breaks down why global events can have such a big impact on prices, even here in the U.S. Then later in the show, we shift to what you can do about higher prices. We're joined by consumer and money-saving expert Andrea Woroch, who shares practical, everyday ways to save money, from gas and airfare to groceries to even your monthly bills. And trust me, you'll be taking notes, so stick around for that one. And a quick note, these conversations were recorded before new developments in the last day, but they still help explain why prices are moving so quickly and how you can save right now. So first, here's Patrick Haan from GasBuddy. Welcome to the Newsworthy Special Edition Saturday, when we sit down with a different expert or celebrity every Saturday to talk about something in the news. Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for our regular episodes, where we provide all the day's news in less than 15 minutes. I'm Erica Mandy. It's now time for today's Special Edition Saturday. Patrick Haan, thank you so much for joining us here on the Newsworthy.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first give people just the big picture. How would you sum up why this conflict with Iran is so impactful to oil and gas prices?
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans out there probably very quickly learning the routes that oil takes to get to the market and how important those routes are, and getting that oil to the market. And the Strait of Hormuz is probably the most significant choke point in the flow of oil to the market. Countries like Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, a lot of the gas and oil that comes from these very rich producing nations goes through the strait. And suddenly now, as a result of the U.S. and attacks on Iran, we've seen Iran now try to disrupt that vital shipping channel. And it's not just oil and things like LNG, it's everything. It's things like fertilizers, refined fuels, petrochemicals, a significant amount beyond just oil. This is a vital shipping waterway for oil. 20% of the nation's daily oil volume would generally flow through the Strait of Hormuz. And when it's disrupted and or closed and or attacks by Iran on vessels in the strait, we've basically seen ships say, well, we're not going to do this. They don't want to risk life and limb. And that's having a major impact on oil supplies globally.
And geographically, it's not just easy to go around this or find a different way.
I mean, this is really kind of the only waterway, kind of like the shipping channel. There's no other way around this, really. Some countries like Saudi Arabia have built pipelines decades ago that can route around it. But to your point, this is imperative. You can't sail around it. This is the only stretch to get access to the ocean. So this is very problematic.
President Trump has said it's more other countries impacted by the Strait of Hormuz, though I imagine there's a snowball effect. What would you say about the impact to America and globally?
I mean, this is economics 101. I've heard a lot of refrains from Americans saying that, we don't get our oil from the strait. Well, that oil that we do get, that is liquid, can be put on a boat and sent anywhere. So this is a very stark reminder of oil can be shipped, it can be diverted, it can be moved from one place to another. And that is a global marketplace. It's a bit of a foolhardy approach to think that the U.S. can somehow isolate ourselves, that we can cut off our oil and go at it alone. And there's this farce that politicians have led us to believe that, energy independent is a buzzword now, but we're never going to be energy independent. We're always going to import oil from Canada, and we're going to always export the excess crude oil that we have to the global marketplace. It's just the connected day we live in. There's no countries that are fenced off. It's a free flow of products. And even though we don't get much of our oil from the strait, everyone globally, no matter where they're getting oil, is impacted by these events.
Okay, so let's talk about gas prices specifically right now. Where do things stand, and how does that compare to what we've seen previously? And then we'll talk about where you think this could go.
So it's been a pretty big increase. Some records have been broken. The U.S. national average has never gone up as much as it has over the last 4 weeks. Gasoline holding just above that $4 a gallon mark. Even going back to 2022 when prices were searing hot, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, this is now outpacing that. So certainly a very fast moving increases as this situation continues to unfold.
And I want to acknowledge, obviously, you're talking about the average gas prices. I'm out in California where we're seeing over $6 a gallon. Other places are going to see less. But overall, you're looking at the average to compare.
Yeah, exactly. That's the safest metric to look at. I mean, we're all seeing a lot of pain. California, you mentioned, prices there approaching $6 a gallon, almost $8 for diesel. So, the West Coast always tends to be more expensive. The nation's interior, the plain states right now, amongst the cheapest. But yeah, things are all over the map. And of course, this is an average. It's not necessarily what's happening at the gas station near you.
If this war continues, how much higher do you think we could see prices go? What are you expecting next? And how quickly could that happen?
Well, I mean, it's all a function of economics. The longer the strait remains closed, the more of an imbalance is going to be created. And that imbalance is going to widen. In reality, there's not really any limit to how high it can go. It's more of a function of when global demand will start to really decline to better match the realities of what supply is available. And there's not really any telling. We don't know because everyone's appetite for gas prices are different. Somebody on a low income may not be able to afford $4, whereas somebody that's well-heeled might not care if gas is $8. So essentially, when oil eventually slows down will be when demand better matches global supply today, which has been reduced really to 80 million barrels because the strait has been blocked. So that leaves us for a huge potential variety in what gas prices we see this summer. I mean, we could be talking about the national average in the mid threes this summer if things go well, or we could be setting new records this summer.
And obviously, it's not just gasoline itself that costs more because of all of this. So it's impacting many different industries.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a few of those. But first, what are the main factors to keep in mind? I imagine it's supply chain and transportation costs.
I like to sum it up by saying trucks, trains, and tractors. I mean, those are some of the biggest. The construction industry. I mean, really, the U.S. economy runs on diesel. You and I fill up with gasoline, but literally everything else, the supply chain runs on diesel. Semis, planes, supply chains, they use jet fuel, which has been even more impacted by diesel. So, anything that gets to the retail delivery store, I mean, look and think about where you are. Look around your home. Everything has gotten into your home because of diesel. Diesel's moved it there. Furniture, grocery store items, everything is there because diesel and then maybe gasoline on the last leg. So diesel is hugely problematic, the fact that we are on the cusp of new records, because that's how the U.S. economy runs.
When somebody goes to the grocery store, what is likely to go up in price first? And then will it eventually just be everything that you're buying?
I mean, it eventually will be everything, but the stuff that's just in time, fruits, vegetables, meats, all of those are probably the most impacted because those supply chains run very, very tight, meaning that produce, the fruits and vegetables that you're buying today literally got to the store within the last couple of days. So it's those types of items, not necessarily the shelf warriors that don't move in frequency. It's the fresh stuff that does.
You mentioned air travel. I've seen reports urging travelers, if you want to go somewhere this summer, book it now before prices go up even more. Do you agree with that? And what else do we need to know about travel prices?
Prices will probably continue to go up. Jet fuel prices have virtually doubled from where they were back in early to mid-February. Airlines are getting unique in passing that along. Rising baggage fees, higher airfares, all of it. So, I mean, and it could continue to get worse as long as the situation worsens. I mean, United and other airlines have been warning of these effects. So summer vacations, well, maybe a little bit too late depending on your budget, but this will continue to be very impactful to what you're buying and spending on airfares.
But other industries are trying to not pass it on yet?
I mean, other industries may not have been able to pass it along yet. I mean, just as a business component, how do you tell a customer, hey, we've got to raise your price 30 or 60%? It's tough to pass those increases down. So that's where the delay is coming from, is sometimes it's just not possible.
Can you just leave us with a final thought?
Hoping for the best that the Strait of Hormuz will reopen and gas prices could moderate. But obviously, if things don't go so optimistically, we could also be seeing record-setting prices this summer. So I'll cross my fingers.
Still ahead, our second guest, consumer expert Andrea Woroch, is sharing very specific practical ways to save as prices rise. I was honestly taking notes during this one. It's not just typical or general financial advice. You'll be hearing about helpful apps, websites, strategies, and ways of thinking that could save you cash today on gas, airfare, hotels, groceries, and monthly bills. That and more still ahead. But first, a break for our sponsors. We spend a lot of time thinking about what's happening now and next in the news. But when you're ready to step back and ask what would make your financial life easier for your future self, Gainbridge can help. It's a digital platform built to make saving feel more straightforward and less stressful. Instead of guessing what the market might do, Gainbridge offers financial products with a guaranteed rate for a term you choose. From day one, you know exactly what to expect. There are no hidden fees or commissions, and the process is simple. Decide how much you want to set aside, choose your timeline, and let your money grow over time. They offer options designed for different goals, so whether you're working towards something in the near future, like a home or a big trip, or thinking longer term about retirement. Of course, rates will vary based on your choices, but the appeal here is clarity and consistency, knowing your plan doesn't depend on daily ups and downs. If you're looking for a more predictable way to think about saving, you can learn more at Gainbridge.com. Gainbridge, let your money work for you. The Newsworthy is also brought to you by Rosetta Stone. Think about this. If you start learning a new language now, by the time summer rolls around, you'll already feel more confident speaking and understanding that new language. Now is the perfect time to start, whether you have a trip coming up or you simply want to have that amazing new skill. I'm always so impressed when someone knows another language, and I realize that actually it can be me, especially with the right method. Rosetta Stone has been a trusted leader in language learning for over 30 years. They have a method that helps you naturally absorb your new language. You learn by connecting words, visuals, and meaning in context, the way language is meant to be learned. They even have something called True Accent that gives you real-time feedback on pronunciation, like having a personal coach. How cool is that? And of course, we're all so busy, so we need something flexible. Thankfully, Rosetta Stone allows you to access lessons from your desktop or mobile app, whether you have 5 minutes or an hour. Ready to start learning a new language this spring? Visit rosettastone.com/newsworthy to explore Rosetta Stone and choose the language that's right for you. Go to rosettastone.com/newsworthy and begin your language learning journey now. Okay, now to my conversation with Andrea Woroch. Andrea Woroch, thank you so much for joining us here on The Newsworthy.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
So let's just start with some really practical, actionable tips for saving money. If you have to drive a lot for a work commute, or maybe you're planning a road trip for the summer, what are your top tips for saving on gas?
The best thing you can do is track gas prices locally using an app like GasBuddy. This provides real-time data on the price per gallon at various gas stations in your area. This is especially helpful if you are driving on an unfamiliar route. And then also try to fuel up midweek before the weekend rush, because as demand goes up, the prices will also go up. And we typically see fuel prices peak on Friday ahead of those weekends when more people are driving. Now, something else just to consider on an everyday basis, I like to recommend combining trips. Can you run an errand on your way to work, on your way home from work? Can you set up carpools to drop your kids off at sports practice? Now more than ever, it's really important to kind of cut back on how much you drive and maximize the routes that you're going. If you are a warehouse club member, that's a great place to fuel up. On average, gas stations at Costco, Sam's Club, and so forth are going to be about 30 cents less per gallon. And if not, you can even just tap into your local grocery stores. A lot of grocery stores partner with various gas stations offering the opportunity to use your grocery points through their loyalty program at the gas pump. Kroger grocery stores is a great example. And because grocery prices are going up, those points will rack up fast when you're shopping for food, right? So why not take advantage of that? And here's another app that I absolutely love. It's called Fetch. With the Fetch app, you take pictures of your gas receipts, and actually any receipt for that matter. You will earn points, and points are redeemable for gift cards to a variety of stores, whether it's Target, Amazon, as well as stores like Walmart or Sam's Club that sell gas. So now you can earn gift cards to help pay for your gas. So just a few different strategies to help save. And then also, just stay on top of maintenance. Make sure your tires are properly inflated. Make sure you're staying on top of your oil changes, changing out clogged air filters, and so forth. All of this is going to impact your fuel economy.
Wow, that was so many great tips. What about airfare? Let's say someone is booking their summer travel now. A lot of experts are saying book it now if you're going to go. But what can they do to save as much as possible?
Yeah, so airfare is always a really big part of a travel budget. And for families, when you have to pay for your kids as well, really adds up. But this doesn't mean you can't travel if you're on a limited budget. It just means you have to be more flexible about where you want to travel. That's the best way to save on airfare, honestly. So what I like doing is coming up with a few different destinations that I would like to travel to and checking prices from my home airport and seeing which one is going to offer a cheaper option. So being flexible on when you travel as well. So maybe instead of choosing to leave on a Friday or Saturday when prices are up, can you head out midweek and just change those dates a little bit? That will also offer perhaps some cheaper rates on hotels. Obviously, that would require you to take off more time from work. So just making sure that works for your schedule. Something else to consider is to build your own itinerary. And what I mean by that is looking at one-way flights in and out of surrounding airports in your own hometown as well as your destination, because this might help you create a cheaper round trip flight than if you were just to try to book a round trip with one airline in and out of a specific airport, right? So just being willing to comparison shop in that way. I also highly recommend using a rewards card that's going to give you airline miles or points that you can redeem for travel, because most of us use a credit card anyway. So why not get rewarded for the purchases you're making regardless, and then be able to tap into those to help pay for your trip? And when you sign up for a credit card, say you're in the market to get an airline miles credit card, maybe my advice is prompting you to go look for one. Make sure you're getting a good sign-up bonus. And a sign-up bonus might be a bonus amount of miles that you get when you spend a certain amount of money within the first few months of account opening. Of course, you could go to a site like cardrates.com to help you compare and look at all the different reward options, which categories you'll earn more on to make sure it matches your spending style.
Yes, we knew we had a larger purchase coming up. So we signed up for a certain credit card where we're getting like 5 free hotel nights that we're likely going to use for a summer trip. And so it was taking some benefits from that purchase we had to make anyway.
Yes.
And speaking of hotels, before we move on from our travel discussion, are there any other hotel-specific ways to save?
With hotels, I like just running a comparison search, and the Hotel Tonight app is great because they offer discounts on last-minute luxury lodging, accommodation, hotels. Now, here's a lesser-known site that I want to mention. At rumortravel.com, you can find other people's reservations that they were not able to cancel. So travelers who booked a hotel to get that maybe cheaper rate that was non-refundable, they go on this site and they can post their hotel rooms for sale to you, and they're transferable, oftentimes at a steep discount. So this could be something interesting to consider as well. And then here's another strategy. Say you have your destination chosen. There's a gorgeous resort with the big pool, the water slide, and all that you know your kids would love, but it is way out of your budget and your reach. Book the cheaper hotel nearby and choose a day pass to access that hotel pool and the water slide and all the fun features they have. You can go to a site like resortpass.com and then just purchase that day pass instead. And this is a great way to kind of get the perk of the amenity for a day or two without paying those really high nightly rates.
I think I'm going to have to go back through this episode and take notes. I think my listeners are going to feel the same way. So many good tangible tips here. Let's talk about groceries. We've heard that fresh produce faces the biggest impact from the rising oil prices because they have to be fresh and they really rely on that supply chain. But we also don't want to stop eating fruits and vegetables, right? So how can people save on groceries right now?
Yeah, so this is probably the most obvious tip, right? Go with frozen. And I think a lot of people have a negative connotation with frozen fruits and vegetables, and fresh is better. But what's interesting is that frozen fruit and vegetables are flash frozen at peak ripeness. So they actually have optimal nutrients in them. So there's no reason not to reach for the frozen. I get sometimes it's not as fresh for your salads and this and that, but great way to save. Plus, if you stick with the store brand, it's typically 30% cheaper. And whenever I've compared the fresh with the frozen is always cheaper. It lasts longer. You have it in your freezer, ready to go whenever you need a last minute meal, which is another perk, reducing food waste, which is the biggest hit to most families' budget that they don't realize. So my biggest tip when it comes to groceries is getting in the habit of meal planning. And it actually does not have to be overwhelming or time consuming. Maybe just carve out 20 minutes. And then when you have a meal plan, it's going to also reduce that urge to order takeout. And as grocery prices are impacted, that's impacting our takeout and our dining out. Everything is rising there. And then a few other small things you can do. Look for the manager markdowns at your store. This could be food that's nearing its expiration date that's going to see a 30 to almost 70% markdown. I was actually at Sprouts last week and they had a bunch of their salads out that were just being marked down because it was coming up to the Best Buy sell by date. So I grabbed those and that was our dinner for the evening.
Well, you mentioned food waste. So with that in mind, are the warehouse clubs actually saving people money? Because you're usually buying in bulk.
Yes. So I think this is such an important point. So yes, buying in bulk, of course, is a great way to save. You get a lower price per unit. But here's the problem. Not only is it going to contribute to food waste if you overbuy fresh food in bulk and you can't freeze it right away, but what happens is that you walk into a Costco, a Sam's Club, and you look around and you get this feeling of almost like excitement, maybe also a little bit of overwhelm, thinking that everything is a really great deal. And that kind of sets your impulse going, right? You start adding items to your cart that you probably wouldn't have bought. So now all of a sudden too, is that when you go to check out, the total amount of money you're spending is probably going to be much higher than if you were checking out at your local grocery store because you're buying everything in bulk. And even though you're getting a better price per unit, the overall package cost is still higher. I think it's a great way to save on those shelf-stable products, on the paper goods, your paper towels, toilet paper. But I'm really careful about the fresh food. I'm really careful about any of even the prepared foods. So you kind of have to also shift the way you think about it.
Is there any type of bill that almost everyone is overpaying for? Or are there any bills that are more negotiable than people realize? What do you have to say about the bills that we all pay?
Yeah, monthly bills are definitely an area where people could be wasting money without realizing it because we see our monthly bills as necessities. We oftentimes set it and forget it by putting it on auto pay, right? And so rates could start going up. You got a great deal when you first bought your house and got your home insurance. You got a great deal on car insurance when you bought your car. You got a great deal on internet. All of a sudden, those bills start getting more and more expensive. Oftentimes, we overlook the jumps that we are experiencing in our bills. And so it's a good idea at least once a year to do a bill audit. Go through all your monthly bills, write them out on a piece of paper, put them in an Excel chart. You can use a budgeting app if that helps you out, if you prefer that, to figure out what you're paying and what you're even paying for. Because of course, we know, this is no shock. Many of us pay for subscriptions that we don't need or we don't use, or we just don't even know we're paying for because like me, my kids signed up for Amazon Music Unlimited once, and I didn't know I was paying for it for like 7 months. So that was a waste of money, So this is just a good idea. And then once you have your list, you might realize, wow, my home insurance jumped by $1,000. Now, insurance is kind of a weird area right now. Prices have gone up, but you could shop around. You could call to negotiate. I mean, there's so many of these bills you can negotiate. Your cable, your internet. Your wireless service is another area you could be wasting money. Look at your actual usage. Look at your bill. If you are signed up for unlimited data, chances are you're using less data than you think, and you could actually switch to a lower tier plan offered by your wireless provider. You could also, I would suggest with the video streaming services, those have also jumped at least 20% in the last couple of months. And get this, over 100% since 2019, since they really became more popular. And if you're subscribing to 3 or more, are you watching that much video content? Chances are you could cut that back and just limit it to one streaming service, or, use the Prime Video with the Amazon if you're an Amazon member, and try to save that way as well.
Anything that you think people should not cut even when money is tight or inflation is high?
Yes, your savings. Okay, everybody talks about how important it is to save money, but having enough money in your emergency fund is really a crucial financial tool, because having that cash cushion for an unexpected life moment, you get into a car accident, your water heater breaks, your fridge breaks, your kid has to go to the emergency room, you have a dental emergency. These are expensive life moments. And those are the moments that could put people into debt, that creates a vicious debt cycle. So treat savings like every other bill. Pay yourself first, put it in a separate account so it's out of sight, out of mind. And the best thing to do is open up a high yield savings account for your emergency fund because they pay a higher interest rate. So now that money is going to make money for you each month. That's one of the easiest first steps to creating some passive income, something every person listening to this episode could do right now. A good example is Bread Savings. They offer 4% annual percentage yield, only requiring $100 to open an account. That is compounded daily. So based on the balance each day, you are earning interest and it's deposited at the end of the month. So I would say you cannot cut that. And if you are paying credit card interest, you're carrying a balance, you're kind of struggling with that debt, use a balance transfer card. These cards allow you to move money from a high interest account to a new account. You will get 0% interest for a year up to almost 2 years, allowing you to pay off that debt faster without that interest accruing. And that's just a good strategy if you can control your spending, meaning you're not going to put more purchases on the old card where you just move the balance over from.
So many great pieces of advice here. Thank you. Do you have just a final thought as people deal with these rising prices and kind of uncertainty about what is next?
The best thing you can do is to be in control of your own spending, track your spending, pay attention to where your money is going. If you keep wondering, where did my money go at the end of the month? Chances are you're spending money on things you don't need. You're over consuming. So it just requires you to take a deep dive into your finances. Use a budgeting app like Rocket Money. All these apps make it super easy to link your financial accounts in one place. It's going to give you an overview, insight into what's happening, where your money is going, so that you could plug those budget leaks and feel like you're more in control of where you're spending.
Thank you so much to both of our guests today. Head to AndreaWoroch.com for more great and simple budgeting tips, especially for busy moms. And you can follow Patrick DeHaan on social media for great updates on gas prices and beyond. GasBuddy, as you heard from Andrea actually, is also an app that can help you find the cheapest gas stations near you. You'll find all those links in today's episode notes on our website, thenewsworthy.com. Click episodes and then find today's date. And of course, we'll continue to discuss this topic and much more in our daily 15-minute news roundups during the week. We keep you informed on a wide variety of news every Monday through Friday. So thank you so much for listening and sharing this episode and the show if you find it useful. We'll be back on Monday with the latest news. Until then, have a great rest of your weekend.